From Cape Canaveral in Florida, this is Falcon 9 launch control at T-minus 1 hour, 25 minutes, 15 seconds and counting. The countdown for the launch of the Falcon 9 with the Dragon capsule, bound for a rendezvous with the International Space Station, is on schedule for a liftoff at 4:55 a.m. Pre-launch activities have been underway at Space Launch Complex 40 since 9:30 p.m., at which time the Falcon 9 and the Dragon capsule were powered on. Shortly afterwards, there was a vehicle verification with the Tracking and Data Relay satellite system, as well as the Ground Tracking Station network. The call to stations for the SpaceX launch team in preparation for fueling occurred at 12:45 a.m. This is the terminal phase of the countdown, which is 4 hours and 10 minutes in duration, and there are no built-in holds. Loading of liquid oxygen began at 1:05 a.m., and the RP-1 fuel followed 10 minutes later at 1:15. There was then a test of the first motion sensor in preparation for the liftoff, which occurred at 1:25 a.m. The S-band telemetry and video transmitters on the rocket have been checked out, and the flight termination system checks with the Eastern Range have been completed. Upcoming at the T-minus 1 hour mark will be a weather briefing from the Launch Weather Officer Mike McAleenan from the 45th Weather Squadron. The launch computer's automated terminal countdown sequence begins at T-minus 10 minutes. After liftoff from Complex 40, Dragon will begin its journey to the space station. Just after 10 minutes after the liftoff, the capsule will reach its preliminary orbit, deploy its solar arrays, and begin a carefully choreographed series of engine firings to reach the station. At T-minus 1 hour, 23 minutes, 23 seconds and counting, this is Falcon Launch Control. This is Falcon Launch Control at T-minus 1 hour, 17 minutes, 40 seconds and counting. Joining us here at our Public Affairs Console is Alan Lindenmoyer. He is the NASA COTS Program Manager, and COTS being the Commercial Orbital Transportation Services Program. And Alan, welcome. And I know you've been working on this for quite some time, and I was wondering, what is it like to work with a completely new launch services company? I thought maybe you could give us an example of what the learning curve has been like, both for NASA and for SpaceX working together.
Oh, right, sure, George. Well, I would say there was a lot of learning by both sides as we learned to work together. On the NASA side, I think we had to get used to a different level of documentation. We're used to receiving a lot of details and all of the data deliverables that we usually review with our contractors. And what we found was SpaceX had a different approach. Their documentation was more electronic, not so much on the written paper all the time, although when necessary, of course, it was. But I think what we were learning is it became much more effective to have face-to-face meetings, having meetings with the technical engineers and the experts, and I think that became much more effective for us instead of looking for a large volume of documentation that we were accustomed to. So that's something that we were learning on our side. I think SpaceX was learning a lot from NASA. Of course, we were sharing a lot of our technical information throughout this period. But recently, running our joint simulations, I think it became very clear that learning how to fly a very complicated spacecraft to the space station is quite a challenge. And I think the simulations that we executed with SpaceX were very, very helpful and uncovered things that really needed to be discovered and worked out early. So I think this joint testing, the joint simulations, learning how to fly with the space station, because it's not always exactly where you think it would be, and then you had to react to that and make sure you had the tools to turn around and make sure you had all the information you need to complete this operation. So a lot of learning. I think it was a great experience on both sides.
Well, Alan, we have some animation now that we would like for you to explain to us what's occurring, because this is pretty much from launch right up through splashdown. So if you could tell us what we're seeing.
Okay, sure. Well, a couple weeks ago, we just saw a beautiful morning launch. I think tonight we'll see a even more spectacular night launch. And then about 3 minutes into flight, the main engines will cut off, and we'll see the separation of the first and second stages. And then we'll see the ignition of the second stage. Then about 10 minutes later, we'll see the separation of the Dragon and its trunk. And approximately 2 minutes later, the solar arrays will start to deploy. Over the next 24 hours, they'll be phasing to the space station, doing some maneuvers and checkouts. Second day will be a flyby, and then if all goes well, on the third day we'll see the Dragon do the final approach to the station, be captured by the arm, and berthed to the forward node, bottom side of the forward node there. And this operation will take about 8 hours from the final approach to capture and then the actual berthing of the Dragon to the station. We should see that on May 22nd. It'll stay on orbit for about 9 days, do the cargo transfer. We'll take cargo out of the Dragon, and then there'll be some cargo coming back home. And scheduled now for May 31st, we'll see the arm unberth the Dragon, basically reversing the process. And the Dragon will be released, and approximately 2 to 4 orbits after the release, we'll see the Dragon re-enter, It'll do its departure maneuvers. We'll see the re-entry. And then the descent and splashdown off the coast of California.
Well, Alan, thank you very much. And I know you're looking forward to the launch tonight, but as much the berthing coming up, which is a real milestone that I know that you've been working with SpaceX very closely with. So best of luck. And
thank you very much, George. Things are looking great, so we're looking forward to a great launch tonight.
Thanks very much. We're at T-minus 1 hour, 11 minutes, 54 minutes and counting. This is Falcon Launch Control.